Decentraland has a really special place kind of in my whole journey into NFTs and crypto. I think, Decentraland was the first time I really was able to connect the dots on how the blockchain could really change the way people think about digital assets and this metaverse that we are progressing towards. I've always been a huge fan of VR and the metaverse, and I think it was in 2017 that I saw Ready Player One, and then a few weeks later I learned about Decentraland, and it felt like a light bulb went off when I thought about how blockchain could be the basis for how we own and trade and sell and buy digital assets. And so started buying land, started buying mana, and started buying wearables as soon as I could. And I think that was really special because it really started this kind of rabbit hole that I went deep down into over the last 5 years. Linked wearables is kind of, when I heard about linked wearables, I was really excited because it was something that kind of combined all of my passions with what I had done, leading up to it in Decentraland, and then, what we were doing with Satoshiverse. So when Decentraland was just starting out and the wearables were first being traded, I got really into collecting wearables and always thought about this time when we would be able to create our own wearables. So I actually drew up this, it was like 6 or 10 page proposal for community enabled wearables. That didn't go anywhere, but I think it set a bit of a ball in motion on what this could look like. And so the community wearables features came out, and then this linked wearables feature came out, and that was about it's 4 months ago that we released our own avatar collection. And the idea of we really wanted to do wearables, something unique, but it wouldn't have quite worked to do those wearables individually because of the fees and whatnot. And the idea that they could be linked to the original NFTs was super appealing. So we thought that this would be a really great way of getting our community, who may not know about Decentraland or may not have ever been in Decentraland before, a way of interacting with each other and doing so in a way that they could relate to their avatars that they own, within our community, which I think is really cool. I think the upside and utility for the community is really that, the social components. I like that having one NFT, allows that person to go into Decentraland and feel like they are their Legionnaire within Decentraland. And we did it in a way that it wasn't an exact replication of the Legionnaire avatar, which are a little bit more complex and high fidelity, but the people who have these are going to be able to go into Decentraland and see the textures and patterns on a Satoshi suit of armor that they're familiar with their Legionnaire, which I think is going to create this cool connection between the Decentraland wearable and the Legionnaire itself. But I think the further utility is that we're going to really want to do events. We're building a headquarters in Decentraland that's going to hopefully have streaming and music and all this other cool stuff, so that our community can get together and mingle with each other within Decentraland and really start to do these exciting metaverse events. Interoperability for us in Satoshiverse is kind of front of mind. We're building a high fidelity game in Unreal Engine that's going to be like desktop based and potentially mobile at some point. But right now we're not building out a web based application. And so for us, from an interoperability standpoint, we do want to work with all these different metaverse platforms and building tools that allow community members to come in different ways. And Decentraland specifically being probably the largest web-based, decentralized blockchain-based metaverse, I think is a great opportunity for people to have a much more accessible touch point to the Satoshiverse, where they can still, have their connected wallet and use their Legionnaires in one way or another, but do so within this, environment that's a web-based environment, a little bit, lower fidelity, low poly type of feel, but much more accessible to the common user. For me, the most exciting thing about these linked wearables is that it's going to be an opportunity for people to really get in world and talk to each other, to hang out. I hope that other people see how cool these wearables are and they're interested in learning more about our project. If they're, not directly, involved, or they're not part of our community yet, I hope that the wearables and the headquarters that we're building in Decentraland will be a good exposure to, kind of the beginning of everything that we're building in the Satoshiverse. So my hope is that, we're providing additional ways to engage for our own community and hopefully welcoming in some new community members through the collection. I think for us, the biggest challenge was thinking about, okay, how do we take these, very high fidelity 3D Legionnaires that we created over the course of 4 months in Unreal Engine and translate that into more of the low poly Decentraland web-based feel with the wearables. And so I think we struggled for a long time to try to figure out, okay, like, should we create the body types? Should we mimic the textures identically? How do we do it with the masks? And I think what we arrived at was that you can take the essence of your avatar collection and translate that into a wearable or a set of wearables. So in our case, we had 71 different wearable designs all on the same model that represent the 71 different textures and patterns that occur on the Legionnaires. And so that way you have a process that can be fairly easily implemented. It's as long as the model works once, it works with the other textures. But then you also have something that directly connects the wearable collection to the Legionnaires and to the actual original avatars themselves. And so I think one of the things that I would recommend is that you can scope this so that it's doable. And I think the idea for most creators of, after having created this whole collection, now trying to figure out how to translate that to a huge collection of linked wearables can be kind of daunting. And so I think there's ways to do it if you're just a little creative about how you make that connection that are meaningful, but also don't require you to reinvent the wheel from like a logistics perspective.